Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another edition of Sports Side 49. Just the average Joe hanging with some NFL pros, and we're going to talk about all type of topics, from the Buccaneers take a thrashing to John Jones, UFC. Well, everybody knows Caleb. We got Mr. Xavier here, both former NFL players, and we're just going to talk about topics from all around. Gentlemen, you are free to say how you feel here. There is no filter on what you want to say. You say how you feel, way you feel it, however. And I'll sit here, sip my drink, and we'll just sit here and have a good conversation.
Yes, sir. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock, guys. Lots of fun topics today.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, always. So let's just start with the top. What just came out as we were talking here off air for a while. Tampa Bay Buccaneers take a great ass whooping from the Dallas Cowboys, 31-14 at home. Primetime Buccaneers just seem to can't get it right on primetime television. Gentlemen, your thoughts on the game?
I can kick it off because I have a lot of thoughts on the Bucs. As everybody knows, I played for the Buccaneers 4 years, and I'm far enough removed now that I still have love for the Buccaneers. So I enjoy watching them. A lot of my friends play there, those kind of things. When I watch them, I picked the Bucs to win on this show and on the radio show by 10 points because I thought Dallas Cowboys would do Dallas Cowboy things, and I thought the Buccaneers and Brady, would rise to the occasion like he always does. That's what we expect. But the way the season went and the way that game went, I think we have to come to a realization now that it's always hard to see your heroes fall, right? You know, you love your guys. Michael Jordan on the Magic, not the Magic, on the Wizards, didn't look the same as Michael Jordan on the Bulls, right? And I think Tom Brady's in that part of his career. Aaron Rodgers didn't look the same this year as he did when he won 2 MVPs the last 2 years and previously. And so I don't think Tom Brady can elevate those guys anymore. I think he needs situations to be perfect. He missed a lot of throws. He had a red zone turnover. And I think that the Bucs, again, like I've talked to you about before, Byron Leftwich's downfall is the fact that he doesn't feel like he's in the position to check Tom Brady on certain things. Why do the Bucs throw the ball 66 times in a game?
66.
He threw 66 passes. I don't want to take 66 pass sets. You're going to lose. Those guys are too good. You want to block Michael Parsons 66 times? Somebody who wants to complain about blocking, go block Michael Parsons 66 times in a row. You can't do it. You can't block Aaron Donald 66 times in a game. You're going to lose. That's dumb. And you don't even attempt to run the ball. I don't care if it's not working. Still do it. So at least you keep the defense honest, but you're sitting there in shotgun. You're sitting there with 4 or 5 wideouts. The running back is getting out before the ball is even snapped, so they know it's a pass. Tom's not running it. He's not Lamar Jackson, right? So they know it's a pass. You're putting your O-line in a bad situation and your team in a bad situation. And we can be real here on this show. Tom did not play well all season, right?
No.
A year ago, Byron Leftwich was one of the hottest commodities for head coaching jobs. And Tom he led the league in passing yards, I think passing touchdowns as well.
Yeah,
right?
First in every category.
Yeah, and they won a whole bunch of games, and Byron Leftwich is great. Now, all of a sudden, Tom Brady plays bad. Now, Byron Leftwich forgot how to coach? He forgot to call plays? I don't think so. I think Tom just didn't play how Tom is. But again, he's the GOAT, and so you blame everybody else and not him. Same thing I said about the guys in Vegas and how they went to the playoffs with less talent, then they get more talent. They get Max Crosby. They have Chandler Jones. They have Devontae Adams. And how do you play worse with better players? It doesn't make any sense. At some point, coaches got to be held accountable. And I'm saying that as somebody who's going to be a future coach. So I think there's blame to go all around. But I think at the end of the day, I don't think Tom played up to what we expect Tom to do. And he needs a perfect scenario, right? But it was disappointing because I expected more from those guys. I know they battled their hearts out. I don't think when people say that guys won't come out ready to play, X can speak on this. There's not a game that I left the game thinking I could have gave more effort. That's not a thing. I went out there and played my heart out. I just played well or I didn't play well, right? I don't go there like, oh, they were more prepared than us or all these kind of things people like to say. Oh, these guys didn't come out hungry. I'm just like, dude, that's not it. I went out there and worked my tail off to go try and win these things. I just didn't play well. And they got out by a better team. And I think that's okay.
No, I have to agree wholeheartedly there. And I'm sure Xavier I have a similar point of view. I would like to hear because he played for the Dallas Cowboys for our season, I believe, right?
Two
Seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in attendance at that game, especially the first. I knew they were in trouble especially after Dallas went down and scored a touchdown. They missed the extra point, which was interesting. 4 missed extra points in the game is astronomical. We'll talk about that later. They go down. Nice drive. I believe it was a 10-plus play drive on that, getting the red zone. That was actually right in front of me. I saw Tom Brady throw that pick in the back of the end zone. So I was just like, was he trying to throw this ball to Chris Godwin, or was he trying to throw it out the back of the end zone? I guess later on he did say he just didn't get enough on it and threw off the back foot and didn't get enough to get it out the end zone. But I just thought at that point the life just got sucked out of the team, and Dallas went down and scored on that next possession and ended up just controlled the game from start to finish. Xavier, what's your thoughts on all this?
Well, I want to start off by saying, first of all, the Cowboys were supposed to win that game, right?
Correct.
They were the higher seeded team. Their record was better. And so I don't think it came as a shock, but like how Caleb alluded to, a lot of people say, well, Dallas Cowboys haven't won a road, playoff game in years and all that kind of stuff. But
30.
I just feel like with this
years.
defense, yeah, exactly. And I feel like with this defense that they had, there was no way that they were going to lose to the Bucs. But like how you said, Caleb, like, here's the thing about Tom Brady when you're one of the best is that people have that standard for you and the ceiling, and it's always up here. And anything below is a disappointment to not only everybody else, but to yourself. What I love and respect about the guy is he always takes the high road. When he came up to his press conference after and they asked him how the game went, he said, credit to the Cowboys. They played better than us today. And I think how we played was reminiscent of how we played all season, including me. And when he owned that, I was like, you know what? That's Tom admitting I did not play good this whole season, and I did not play good this game either. Now, as far as him dropping off, I paid attention when I was watching. You guys were there, but I heard something interesting that Troy Aikman said after the game because they asked him about the same things. Aikman said, physically he still has it, but with what he's gone through this year, maybe he just needs a recharge because he was missing the timing right on the throws. He wasn't connecting and stuff, but there's no doubt about it. At whatever age Tom is, 40-something, he's still slinging it.
Correct.
So physically, Can he still do it? Absolutely, he can still do it. Is he going to do it against somewhere else next year? I think so. But
me too.
I think the rumor would be true in a situation for him. The best situation would be Vegas. You know what I mean? Only just because where has he had all of his success with Josh McDaniels? Mm-hmm. And we were speaking earlier about the Belichick tree. Mm-hmm. Josh McDaniels went to Denver, didn't work. He's had this second opportunity to come to the Raiders. It's better than it was in Denver, but it could be better. And I think that for him, if he got somebody like Tom in here, that would help him even better. So why wouldn't you go full speed for that, right? But yeah, I looked at it as this. I'm happy for those guys in Dallas too, but they were supposed to win that game. Dak played out of his mind. That defensive line is what it is. Dan Quinn has got those boys rolling.
Yeah.
For the first time in a while, right?
Yep.
And the thing is the question mark to me is that, okay, Dallas, you won the game you were supposed to win, and you won by a lot. And I was like, Tampa Bay definitely could have played better, and they had shown flashes of doing that. But it was about the result that I kind of expected. And so, the question for me is like now what will be telling for us is that if Dallas goes to San Francisco, what do they do there? And that'll show us was the Cowboys really like that, or was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just bad?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and we haven't talked about Tom much, me and you, X, but I was able to be his teammate for half a season before he ended up going to Tampa, and I was still in New England. Mm-hmm. And when I was in college, when I was in high school, I really hated the Patriots, right? I didn't like them. I was like, somebody else win a game, right? Because they just won everything. Right. And I kind of got annoyed about it. But then when I got to the NFL and I saw how hard it is to win one game or to go to one playoff, I've been in playoffs twice in my career. I've played 7-8 years. And so I saw how hard it is to do it one time. And this dude has been to 11 Super Bowls and won 7. I just was like, dude, so much respect. So much respect. You are the greatest. You are amazing. And you get held to a certain standard. And I agree with you. He does need a recharge. I do think Vegas is a great option. I think that's the only way they kind of get Devontae Adams to not be too upset and want to leave.
Agreed.
Right? I think they have all the pieces there, and him and Josh McDaniels have made magic together. He knows how to talk to Tom. He knows how to tell Tom, hey, I think this. I've seen them interact, right? So he knows how to tell Tom, hey, I know you like this, but this will work better in the situation, or that'll work better. Or maybe the Niners, right? The Niners where you have Shanahan, even though Brock Purdy's been playing out of his mind, and I don't know how you take the job away from that young man because he has been balling out of control, right? And I'll give Kyle Shanahan a shout out right now. To have two quarterbacks go down and have a third string quarterback in, a guy who probably didn't dress most of the season. Right?
No, he didn't. Hadn't played a game before Thanksgiving. He'd never played a game.
And to be rolling the way they are, that just shows me how they built this team, how they've drafted, making that Trent Williams trade. Like it's so hard for from top to bottom to be so cohesive and to hit. It's hard to hit on draft picks, man. Get Bosa. You have Armstead, who you drafted. You had Warner, who nobody knew about up until 3 years ago. He might be the best linebacker in the NFL now, right? They had D Ford at one point, right? They had Buckner before he when he got paid $100 million by the Colts, right? So to have those draft picks and have that team roll away as Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, and everybody playing, make the trade for McCaffrey, who changed their season, right? Yep. To do those things, they're doing amazing. I think that'll be a great fit for him. I don't know if you want to take that away from Brock Purdy because, as X will tell you, quarterbacks put this thing forward that they're like the perfect yes sir, no man, but they got egos. And they have, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not used to getting told no, because if you're a quarterback in the NFL, you were probably a star in college. You were a star in high school, right? You're not getting used to this, I'm starting, I'm not starting, all those kind of things like that. So it'll be interesting to see. I would guess Vegas or the Niners for his landing point. There is the whole thing about Miami, because of Miami, I think 2 years ago, offered him equity in the team. Like, he comes to start there, they'll give him, so that's a possibility. It's interesting to see where he goes. I think he does need a recharge. I do think there's no Super Bowl run in him, man. I think Tom, I don't bet against Tom Brady. I just don't. I
agree.
The dude has just done it so much at such a high level for so long that I just don't bet against him. I just think he needs a recharge. It's interesting to see where the Bucs will go. I think the Bucs need a recharge. I think they need to move on from Tom Brady, draft a quarterback, and start developing, because they have pieces. They got talented guys, right? There's not a bad football team. They just need a recharge. It's like the LeBron factor. When LeBron goes back to Cleveland, right, they win a chip, but then, okay, LeBron's left now. Okay, let's draft Sexton. Let's trade for
Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell. Let's trade for Donovan Mitchell. They got some draft capital for LeBron. Now they look like a different team, and they're playing really, really well. So I think both people need a recharge. And I don't think it's something Tampa should hang their head on. You got a Super Bowl and 3 playoff runs in a row. You haven't been to the playoffs in like the last 15 years.
Correct.
Right? So it's something to hang your head on. Tampa fans shouldn't hang your head on it. You won your division. It was a bad division this year, but you've won your division just the last 3 years. So I think be thankful. I think be grateful that he came here and brought this team another championship. And I was disappointed in the performance as the team as a whole, but I'm not mad. I'm not mad about it.
Yep.
If we're talking about moving on, they just recently moved on, as we all were talking together from Byron Leftwich. Do you feel he's an scapegoat, or do you think that was a justifiable fire?
I'll let X go first.
No, I just think, for something to change, I don't agree with that, because like as Caleb alluded to earlier, Byron was one of the hottest commodities ever, and now he's not. Mm-hmm. And whether or not that's, because of Tom or not, who knows? Okay, what I learned something real quick about being in the league is what we think and what goes on with the coaches downstairs and everything is completely different from what happens upstairs. It's
right.
Different stories, completely different motives and stuff. So for whatever reason, I think I don't know if Byron would be the true scapegoat, because I don't think he'll be the last coach that'll get fired, let go over there either. But I also think that also opens him up to go shine somewhere else and have another opportunity somewhere else, which he will. He will do. He, like I said, he's a great young coach, and we've seen the results in it. But this year, there's always what Clem always say, Caleb, shit travels downhill.
Yeah.
So
Very true.
just sees who it lands on, and just like in the NFL in this business, that's who it landed on. So
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's one of the first things, and like I said, when I was in college, what Clem, our O-line coach told us is shit travels downhill. It got to land on somebody, right? And one thing about the league is when things don't go well, you can't keep it the same. You can't, because Tampa fans would lose their mind. At least now you say, okay, well, hey, we fired this guy, offensive performer we thought he was, whether it was his fault or not. He gets fired. He gets to move on, do something else. He gets a recharge, hopefully gets a young quarterback, or maybe he's got guys coming in from the draft, and gets to do more. But somebody's got to be responsible, right? For the fans, because again, it's a business. It's a publicly traded business. People, so you got to do what you got to do. And it's just, it's the cost of doing business. I've been fired. I've been cut, right? Like, it's part of the game. Like, it's just, it is what it is. And so I wish him luck. I think he's a phenomenal mind. Me and him have had some great conversations. And I hopefully he gets to a team where he can have a young quarterback that he can mold and kind of grow with. I think that's great for offensive line coaches. And so I'm excited for him.
Yep.
And Byron, of course, wasn't the only man getting fired. I know Xavier also, he was drafted by the Houston Texans. Lovie Smith was fired, what I thought was a little, in my opinion, you might have a different opinion, it was a little premature. The Houston Texans were very competitive in some games where they were supposed to be losing by the spread was like double-digit points in some games, and they actually were in a dogfight actually with the Dallas Cowboys and multiple other teams. Mm-hmm. Do you think the Lovie Smith firing was just?
No, I think it was very premature as well. I believe it with you too, because they had a one-year coach last year too. And I think that they're going to continue to have that until, because did they fire Caserio, the GM?
Yep,
they fired him too.
Oh.
So I think the guy who's calling the
shots, internal.
I think the guy who's calling the shots up there for the owner, who you might have known him in New England, Caleb. I'm slipping his name right now. He's the one who's really calling the shots for Cal McNair. And so I would say that, just like in other NFL teams, and right now the Texans happen to be the ones, is that that's going to keep happening until they find guys that are their guys. And, again, there's always a scapegoat, but upstairs, especially we see with owners and we see with other GMs and stuff, they fire whoever they want, whenever they want.
Absolutely.
And because they can, until the owner decides enough's enough, and then he cleans the whole house. But in Houston right now, I wouldn't be shocked if they hired another coach, and if they did the same thing next year, got fired again too. But yeah, I agree. I thought, Coach Lovie Smith, this was his opportunity, to be a head coach in the NFL, maybe his last opportunity, and he took it, and he did the best that he could, and, got punished for it. So I hope he took all the money I hope he got as much money as he could before he did it, and said, walked out with his head held high. So
absolutely. I always wish the best for Lovie, especially what he did for that Illinois program before coming back.
Illinois, bro, the Bears, Coach Smith is well respected. He's been a head coach for a long time. And I don't think, because they did the same thing to Romeo Crennel too.
Yep.
After Billy O. And Rack been a coach in the NFL forever, boy. You know what I mean? And so it's just interesting because I do think it's internal and it's upstairs, but he who owns the team calls the shots. And so you do whatever you want, whatever what's your enterprise.
I mean, you guys will have a different perspective. I know you're talking about internal things. Like, I don't know how much you want to say or not. It's, like I said, you're fine here for whatever you want to say, whatever you don't want to say. But I always have this thing that I say: successful teams have two things: consistent coaches and consistent quarterbacks. The changing of the guard every year, every 2 years. I just don't understand what owners and thinking. Like I said, maybe you guys can put more insight on. I just don't understand, even as players, like that you guys keep having these offensive coordinator changes, head coaching changes year after year, and they want you guys to stay fully locked in with all these changes over and over again. I mean, doesn't the owners or anybody just feel that you need to have some type of continuity somewhere at some point, that to keep doing the same? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Yeah,
exactly. So I have thoughts on this, right? I'll speak on Lovie Smith first. When he first got fired, first of all,
Mhm.
Even when he got the job and he got hired,
Mhm.
everybody knew the Texans were going to be the worst team in the NFL. And
Yes, we knew that.
I love the stick it to you, the F you he did and went for 2 points to win the game. He said, you guys are going to fire. Here goes the number 2 pick, right? Because I know I'm going to get fired. Because he knew
Yep.
what it was. And he was like, I'm going to take this money, right? You're going to fire me. You have to pay me into my contract, right? So he knew what was going on. We all knew what was going on.
Mhm.
And I do think it was unjust. But if the Texans can knock it out the park with their hire, because now they have the number 2 pick, they're going to go trade up, right? Because the Bears, I like Justin Fields. I think he showed a lot of improvement with the offensive line that he has and the team that he has. He doesn't have a true number 1 receiver, and what he was able to do, he showed a lot of flashes to where you're not drafting Bryce Young number 1. You're not going to, right? He's the consensus number 1 quarterback. The Texans need a quarterback. You're gonna have to make trade picks for quarterback. What we've seen from the NFL in the last 5 or so years, when you have a young quarterback who's talented, you need an offensive mind to work with him. Look at Daniel Jones this year. Daniel Jones looked like trash.
Ooh, night and day.
Then all of a sudden, Daniel Jones has 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, 78
And
yards.
you see it looking like Josh Allen that playoff game.
Brian
He
Dable.
went from having 13, 14 picks a year to 5. When
Yep.
Josh Allen first got in the league, people forget Josh Allen's first 2 years, everybody was like, this dude's a bust. All he can do is run. He doesn't know how to pass. He's a turnover machine. Brian Dable comes in. Stephon Diggs come in. And then he's MVP. They want to compare him to Patrick Mahomes. They want to do all these things. And then what happens? Brian Dable leaves. He goes to the Giants. And what does Josh Allen do this year? He leads the NFL in total turnovers, right? And his talent is it's unmatched. Like I played for the Bills for a little bit. This dude makes throws, run across his body. So he's just as talented as Patrick Mahomes physically. Up here, Mahomes is at a different level than everybody else. You know how I feel about him. But like nailing that coach and quarterback combination is so important. It's so important. That's why the Patriots had their success, right? You saw the transition when Aaron Rodgers, even though they didn't win the Super Bowl, he won back-to-back MVPs with a new coach because they had that combination, right? Tua gets an offensive-minded coach. The record was the same, right? I think the record was the same with Miami from their last coach to this coach. But Tua looked like a different man. You got him another weapon. You showed him the offensive line, gave him an offensive-minded coach, and for the first 9 weeks of the season, they were saying Tua is leading the MVP conversation.
Yes,
right?
he was.
So that's it's a quarterback league right now. It's the quarterback era. I grew up in the running back era when Adrian Peterson was running wild on people, and you needed a star running back, and you needed all those guys, Eric Dickersons, and all that. Now it's the quarterback era. So you better find you an offensive-minded coach. And so I don't like the Texans firing him and kind of scapegoating him because they competed and they played well. But if you're going to get a star quarterback in this draft, which you think you can find, because there's some good guys in this draft, you need a coach who can mentor him and carry him through his career, right? Because that's so important. That coach-quarterback relationship is so important. We saw it live fall apart in Arizona, right? Like when the head coach and the quarterback are beefing and they're cussing each other. You can see it on TV. You see Mac Jones, how he played with Josh McDaniels. And again, that's why I think, Josh McDaniels is a phenomenal coordinator and a quarterback handler. As a head coach, I have my reservations from what I've seen from him as a head coach. But Mac Jones went to the Pro Bowl a year ago. He won 10 games with a team that I was on that went 7-9 the year before. And he played well as a rookie. He was the best rookie out of the whole class, right? And then this year, he looks like he fell off a cliff. Well, you have Matt Patricia, who's a defensive coordinator, coaching offense. So quarterbacks, they need to be managed, right? They're like a child star, right? You got to manage these guys and know how to talk to them the right way because they have the biggest egos. You're a quarterback. You get all the glory and all the blame, and that's how it works. And so if they go nail that and knock it out of the park and get an offensive-minded coach who can draft a guy, I think it's okay. I am mad that Lovie Smith, got fired because he did a great job. But if they go knock it out the park, I think that their franchise can turn around because they got pieces, right? It was dumb for letting D-Hop go, but Laramie Tunsil's going to be a staple there. He's a great left tackle. right? They're a right tackle. I forget his name. I think it's Howard. He's a solid player.
Titus.
So they
Titus Howard. Yep.
Yeah. So they got some pieces, right? They got some pieces on that football team. But in this league today, if you don't know your quarterback, you have no chance. You have no chance. And you see it because it's the Patrick Mahomes effect. It's the Joe Burrow effect, the Justin Herbert effect. You can't win games without guys who can make plays like that. The game is too spread out. You can't even hit these guys anymore. You can't even hit them anymore. So the game is so spread out, and quarterbacks are so important. If you don't nail that quarterback-coach combination, look at Trevor Lawrence in a year. Went from
oh my God. So happy. I'm so happy for him.
Me too, right? And look what it did. He threw 4 picks and came back, and we'll get to that, right? But yeah. So if they nail that combination, if they get a good coach, I think they'll be okay.
So, question for you guys then.
Go ahead.
Do you think that that's a problem with Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert? Brandon Staley's a defensive guy. He's a DC. He's a linebackers coach.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Herbert has gotten that fair opportunity at that offensive relationship that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think I'm not going to say he's the sole problem, but he's the head coach, so I'm going to give him the blame because I've seen what a great head coach does for a quarterback. I've seen what Doug Peterson did for that Jacksonville Jaguars team.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, like, it was to your point about being offensive and defensive, right? Like, Brandon Staley's a defensive guy. So, the defense is scheming it up, chopping it up, all that, and having success. But, he fired Joe Lombardi and Steve Day, the QB coach and the OC. And, now it's his job to go out and find that. But I think you're right. Like, it worked in New England, like with Tom, because Belichick was the guy, but it was Josh and Tom, right?
Right.
Yes.
And most nowadays, I mean, even in like in Kansas City and, I know in Cincinnati, sometimes the play calling is Zach Taylor and Brian Callahan, like it's a committee almost, right? But it's all that tight-knit relationship with the QB. And so like I'm saying, it's like, do you think that for Justin Herbert to really come into his own, that you need a coach that's offensive minded, like you were just saying, Caleb, or do you think that that's not necessarily always required if you got a great OC who can vibe with your QB?
So I don't personally, if I was making decisions and I was an owner, I don't personally bail on Zach Taylor's his name, right? I'm not getting that wrong.
Yeah.
No, you got it.
Your coach for the Bengals?
Staley. No, Staley.
Oh, Staley. Brandon Staley.
Brandon Staley, right? I don't personally bail on Brandon Staley because you don't want your quarterback to be rotating through coaches like this. Now, if there's a way you can get Sean Payton, right? If there's a way you can get Sean Payton, then I say go get Sean Payton. Because Sean Payton, I was on the New Orleans Saints team that didn't have Mike Thomas, that didn't have the dude from the Browns, LSU guy, the receiver, stud.
Jarvis.
Right? Jarvis Landry, where Alvin Kamara was hurt for most of the year, and we found a way with the 5th-round quarterback to win 9 games, and we're this close by a field goal away from making playoffs. That's what Sean Payton did. Sean Payton turned Jameis from a turnover machine to an MVP candidate before he got injured. We were 5-2, didn't lose to the Bucs, right? That's when Tom Brady was rolling with the Bucs, right? We won all those games. I saw what he could do. So if you have a chance to get him, I say go get him. But if you don't, keep the continuity and find a star offensive coordinator who knows how to handle young superstar quarterbacks, because there's nothing on the field that Justin Herbert can't do.
But if you're an owner or a GM, Caleb, that's unacceptable to be up by 30 at halftime and lose a game.
It is.
That's unacceptable.
It is unacceptable. And if as a defense, you win the turnover margin 5-0 and you lose. And one of the saddest things I've seen all week was the safety for the Chargers. He's a star from Florida State.
Derwin James.
Darren was just like, dude, we got 5 turnovers. We were up by this much. He's like, what else we got to do? We got to, because I've had these conversations. I've had 600 yards of offense in the game. We score 40 points and we lose. And I go home thinking in my head, I'm just like, dude, we couldn't have done anything more on offense. Make one stop, right? I felt that way before. So I know he said the right thing as a teammate. He said the right thing as like a professional to be like, hey, like, We should have got one more stop at halftime. But no,
Well,
they played their ass
no,
off.
you're right. But like, I'm saying, like, no, you're right. But offense should have produced more in the first half. Defense did their job. But in the second half, the defense didn't do their job.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, the defense was carrying the offense all game. And there's three, it's a very, very important. I was like, but then just because you got 5 turnovers in the first half doesn't mean you got to go to sleep in the second half and give up, 35 points.
So I thought about this a lot, and I would disagree with you on this one because the offense, I don't think, did their job the whole game.
No, they never did. I was saying they needed to be carried by the defense the whole game.
Yeah,
to have a chance, and they screwed them. Yeah.
I went back and watched the game, and I watched the highlights. All their touchdowns were off turnovers. They got the ball at the 20-yard line going in, right? They got a pick and got it at like the 10-yard line going in.
Right.
That's 2 touchdowns.
Complimentary football.
Oh,
yep.
Complimentary football, right?
Yep.
And so it's like at the end of the day, it's like, can you sustain a drive? Can you not have a 3 and out every single time? Because we all know, like, defense is out there for 14 plays. Somebody scores. You come back out there, you get a 3 and out. They ain't even had time to sit down yet.
You're right.
So, like, what do you want them to do, right? You got to get first downs. You got to drive the ball. And I don't think that they did that the whole game. And if it's on Brandon Staley, it can be on Brandon Staley, right? Because, again, the coach at the Bills, he's a defensive-minded guy. And he's one of the few left, him and Bill Belichick, one of the few left that have success and win games. But what he did that was so good, the coach of the Bills, is he hired Brian Dable. And Brian Dable was a phenomenal offensive line. And so he was able to clear Josh Allen. He says, okay, I will build the culture in this team. I will build the foundation of this team, but you know how to handle quarterbacks. So you're going to sit in here with him all day. You're going to talk to him all day. And that's what Andy Reid does. That's what all these, Sean Payton, Doug Peterson, like, they know how to talk to quarterbacks. That's not my part. I know how to do defense, right? So I need to hire a guy who's my OC or my quarterback coach who can sit there and handle that aspect of it. And so if Staley can find that, I think he can save his job there because they have pieces, bro. Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, the corner from the Patriots, his name is like Mr. INT because he leads the league in interceptions every year.
Oh, you talking about Asante Samuel Jr.?
No, Asante Samuel Jr. is a superstar. He had 3 interceptions.
Ty Law?
But the other one, no, Ty Law.
Ty Law been retired since like 2002, my boy.
From the Patriots, I'm not remembering his name right now, but he led the league in interceptions the last like 3 years. 2 years.
I know you're talking about.
Oh, you talking about Harris? No, not Harris.
No. But I mean, it doesn't matter. I think he wears number 27. He was a big signing in the offseason.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
But they, he was hurt, but they have pieces. Like, they have pieces, right? It's just you need a quarterback handler in the league today. You have to have it. And so I don't think that he's an inept coach. I just think you need that quarterback handler. And if you can hire that person in the offseason, because I don't want you to fire him. Like, you don't want turnover like that. It's because, like, it's a whole new system, whole new team, whole new way of doing things. Like, we've all been on different teams, right? Me and you, and like, it's a whole change. Everything changes. There's no continuity. So if you can find a quarterback handler, I think Staley can keep his job and the team can do well,
No, definitely. I think we talked about that a little bit earlier. You said that I think it's been the move now for teams to have success. If you want to have success, you've got to have either a offensive-minded head coach, or you have to have a great OC to help move your team forward, because teams aren't, like we talked about, teams aren't winning with just defensive coordinators as your main guy as running the show, and it's not working that way. The other thing you said, I think you both alluded to that already, was another point, a talking point we wanted to say, is that it seems the league is also going to guys that are more mobile and not the stationary quarterbacks like Peyton Manning's and Tom Brady and things like that. It seems like everybody wants these guys, not to forsay the Patrick Mahomes behind the back passes and all that crazy stuff, just guys that can extend plays, to help these wide receivers to buy time. So I guess my question would be, I have Randy on here. You met Randy Grimes before, Caleb, and
yep.
Randy said something that you both played offensive line, so I have a question on all that. Randy said when he had Steve Young, he said he loved the fact that Steve Young was mobile, He said, but was the protecting? They said they did not know where he was at sometimes back there. So I guess you guys could best answer what's that like with a mobile guy. Does Randy, like, what do you think about what Randy says? Is that some truth to it, or?
Go ahead, Caleb.
Okay. So when I had played with Brett Hundley, right, and I never knew what Brett was going to do. I knew if he was going to take an 11-step drop, he's going to be at 11 yards or 9 yards or whatever. Then I played with Josh Rosen. And I knew Josh was going to be sitting at 7 yards, right? He had feet, but he's going to sit at 7 yards, so it made my protection easier. I played with Jameis. Jameis might be at 9 or 11. Then I played with Tom. Tom's going to sit at 6 yards. It makes protection easier for me when I know where my quarterback is going to be, right? Because he's a pocket passer, this, that, and the other. The plays that happen afterwards, like the extended plays, they're great and they're amazing. But for me personally, as an offensive lineman, it's more comfortable when I know where my quarterback is going to be at. But I was listening to First Things First, and Mark Schlereth was on there. And I sent this to all my guys that I'm training right now. He said something that I think is so true and so impressive and such good insight. He said, the way the NFL is structured now, the minimum salary has gone up to $700,000.
Yeah.
And the minimum vet salary is around $1 million. And I'm going to explain to you the business and how things work right now. So the NFL, which I'm sure me and X have faced, because I know personally I faced it, I would rather pay a guy who's a young guy $650,000, $700,000 than have to pay me, Caleb Benenoch, who they know can play, who's played $1.5 million. So what happens is when you have an injury, this young guy has to come into the game. He's not developed, right? So I've watched so much bad offensive line play in the NFL. Like so much, and I'm sure X has too. And you're sitting there like, how do these guys have a job? I know guys who can really play and protect, and they don't have jobs, right? And yeah, they're cheap, right? They're cheap because you're paying your quarterback $40 million. I don't want to go pay all my offensive linemen $20 million left tackle, $30 million left tackle, $18, $19 million right tackle, and then my backup's just making $2 million. They don't want to do that anymore, right? Quarterback money's going up, receiver money's going up. I'm all for it. Everybody get their bread. So they're going younger, but what happens is these young guys aren't developed. And Mark Stewart said, you don't even have time to develop guys anymore.
No.
When I first got to the NFL and when X first got to the NFL, because he was there before me, we were in there from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. during camp. Since COVID, guys are, that's real life. And I didn't leave. You get like a 2-hour break in between. 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. You barely have time to study your playbook before you have to sleep, and then the alarm is back on again for the next day. That's how I came in, right? And even before that, they was having 2 and 3 days. Thankfully, I never got to experience that, but that was the real life. That's how you develop great O-linemen. Now, after COVID, you're in there from 8 a.m. to maybe 5:30, 6:30. I used to tell guys, my last 2 years, when I was telling guys, I was like, bro, like, I feel weird leaving the facility this early. I just want to stay just because like, I'm used to being in here. It's camp. Right. While we done, the sun should be down. It should be the middle of the night before I get back home, right? But that's how it is. You don't have time to develop guys anymore, right? So you're playing guys who aren't developed because you don't have time to develop it. And then to compensate, you need quarterbacks who can move. The Matt Ryans, those days are over. If you can't move, before dual threat used to be like a knock on quarterbacks. Now if you have no mobility, we can't even draft you.
Right.
Because we're developing the most important, the most skilled position on the team. Because defensive linemen, I tweeted this and I posted it on my Instagram a few days ago. Defensive linemen are the best athletes on the planet Earth. You will not find a better athlete than Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa. You will not find a better athlete than Myles Garrett. You will not find a better athlete than Aaron Donald. These guys are 280 to 300 something pounds with 6-packs, can jump out the gym. They run 4.4s and 4.5s. I don't care. Imagine LeBron playing defensive end, because that's what it is. Julius Peppers was LeBron playing defensive end, right? So to be able to block those guys, you have to have the proper training and the proper work. And the NFL doesn't allow that anymore because of all the progress they've made and whatever. So your quarterbacks now have to compensate with being able to move. And I think that's what's going on. And I think he hit the nail on the head. What are your thoughts, X?
And that's a great point. And I had never really thought about it that way, but it's true because I just remember, even when we were in high school, like um, Cam Newton, like there's all the different QBs. If you liked to run, then it was a knock on you, right? But what was crazy is even evident, even this past weekend when the Giants beat the Vikings. Boy, Daniel Jones not only can move, that boy can move well, right? And
Yeah.
like seeing that and all that, it's just kind of like you're right, like because maybe and it like in on some places because O-line play has gone down, then they want quarterbacks who can move around more, right? But it's so interesting you say that because man, when I was in Houston, we played with a bunch of different quarterbacks. There was no stability there for 3 years until D4 came in, and D4 was making amazing plays and stuff. But yeah, he was holding on the ball too much, and I think it makes it harder on offensive linemen, but you'd rather have a play extend and a quarterback who would do that than a quarterback who won't move and just kind of sit there. Now, does it make protection easier when you know where they're at? Absolutely, Caleb. Absolutely. I agree. If I know where my quarterback's at, and I know, especially as a tackle, you know where you level and you know when the rush is going to start, leveling off his rush, easy, right? And when I say easy, it's relative when we say that, right? Easy means
relative, exactly. Yeah.
hard to block because I don't care what anybody says. Trying to block a defensive lineman with an unnatural movement, moving backwards, is not easy. It'll never be easy.
Cornerbacks and tackles, cornerbacks and offensive linemen have the hardest jobs.
Corner and O-line.
And doctors. It's not even close. Yep. I got to move backwards as fast as somebody's moving forwards. It's so crazy, right?
No, the science behind it just doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
But I also think this. I think, with that being said, having a quarterback who can move and extend plays like that, because here's the thing. When Deshaun got there, he was making spectacular plays. Did we give up more sacks? Absolutely. Was it more stressful on us? We didn't know where he was? Absolutely. Same with Joe Burrow's first year. When we were in Cincy, Joe Burrow would extend these plays, and he would make hells of plays. Like Joe, to me, after playing with him, Joe is special. He's one of the best. He'll end up being one of the best ever. But the way he holds on to those balls, and not only hold on to them, the way he takes these hits, and when I say game faces them, like gets up, nothing. You know what I mean? Hold on.
Dude, can I tell you something? I've been, again, me and Blake have been working together for a little bit now, probably 2 months. I came on here every single time, and I say, again, I always exclude Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, and they're the elder statesmen, right? They've earned their respect.
Yeah, it's different class.
Yeah. I don't even like the same way you talk about top 5 rappers. You're not putting Jay-Z and Drake in there anymore.
No.
Right?
You threw Drew Brees in there too, right? You played with Drew, right? Or no?
I didn't play with Drew. I was there after Drew retired. I was in Tampa. I was in New Orleans when Drew retired.
Okay, I got you. I was just curious because I've heard the same thing about him.
Yeah, about Drew, right? So those guys are elder statesmen. I only say Tom and Aaron because they're still playing. So when I talk about my top 5 quarterbacks, I think Patrick Mahomes is here. There's a gap because he's going to win 2 MVPs. This is going to be second MVP. He's been in 2 Super Bowls. I believe he'll go to a 3rd this year, right? If they keep doing what they're doing. And then after that, I say Joe Burrow is the next guy. Like, dude, I watch this guy, and I'm so impressed with him. His leadership level. He took a dumpster fire of an organization, and you can talk about. I've heard stories about Cincinnati and how cheap they are. They don't want to spend money. All these things, like they're making guys pay for gloves and cleats, all type of crazy stuff. And he got there. This team was a dumpster fire, and his first full year being healthy, starting, they go to a Super Bowl. He's beat Pat Mahomes 3 times. Nobody else has done that. Not even Tom. Pat and Tom are tied 2-2 in games. He's beat him 3 times. That's the only team. I'm a new Chiefs fan because I love Patrick Mahomes so much. So I'm gonna tell people my bias. But I do think he's that great.
Texas boy.
And
it makes sense. Texas boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I got Patrick Mahomes. There's a little bit of a gap, but it's a close gap because Joe Burrow is right there. And then I got Lamar Jackson and then Josh Allen. Lamar has won an MVP as a 22-year-old, right? But people, because of his playing style, like to say that he is not this or this. And when you watch Josh Allen, I think Josh Allen and Justin Herbert are so similar. Because when you watch them, they are big. They're both 6'5". They're both 230, 245. They can run. They can truck people. They can throw the ball across their body. They can flick it and it goes 70, 80 yards, and it looks impressive. But I'm like, you haven't accomplished anything in the NFL. Because like I tell people, when people say when I say Joe Burrow is better than not Pat Mahomes, when I say Joe Burrow is better than Josh Allen, like how can you say that? Look what I'm like. What did Josh Allen do? He's not been to the Super Bowl. He has not beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. Right? He goes to Arrowhead every single year and loses to Patrick Mahomes. As great as he does, Mahomes is a little bit better and finds a way to win. Right. Joe Burrow has done that. He hasn't won an MVP. I'm not saying his talent's not there. He has phenomenal talent. But again, sorry if you forgot your point, but like I want to tell you, like, dude, Joe Burrow, you got to play with him. I wish I did. The dude to me is spectacular. Like the things that the intangibles, right? The intangibles that you can't think of as a player that like he has is so crazy because we all know guys who in practice are the best players ever. And then when the lights come on, it's like clam up and they can't perform. And he like lives for those bright lights moments. He was a block away from the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Joe Shiesty, Joe, he has his glasses. He has all the crazy outfits. Dude, like I love that guy. I love that guy.
And he does that every single day at practice too. He's like that, you know. And the thing that's cool about him is that he's just one of the fellas too, you know. And I feel I don't. Yeah, as far as like the rankings and stuff and all that, like it's funny because we all have them in our head, right? A list, but like to me, it's just kind of like, what do you value most? Because other than the MVP. Lamar Jackson, he hasn't really won much either. You know what I mean? And so, like that's the hard part. It's just kind of like, what do you judge it off? Do you judge it off Super Bowls, rings? Do you judge it off playoff wins? Do you judge it off MVPs? Right? Because it's just kind of like it's just hard, kind of like what, like just to and to each individual, it's how you define it, But like the crazy thing is like how you said, Caleb, was like in the NFL. I mean, I would say football in general. The only thing that matters is if you win or not.
Correct.
You know what I mean, and that's how you're judged. Whether or not that tells the whole story, it doesn't really matter, right? So it's real. That's real interesting. But I agree with what you're saying.
I think one of the crazy things people don't know is when you play for like, and again, I had my time in Tampa, and I had 2 9-win seasons, and we had talented teams, but we just couldn't get over the hump, right? To go to the playoffs and to do what we need to. But we had talented teams. And I try and tell people the difference when I went to New England, it was much harder. I did not have as much fun, right? I was not as close to the guys, right? I had to force my way to be close to the guys. I was the one who was like, hey, we're having O-line dinners here because I have to hang out with you guys outside of just here or I'm going to lose my mind. It's cold, 3 feet of snow, all this stuff. But when you win a game, and X can tell you this too, when you win a game and come into the locker room, and come in on a Monday, I don't care if I got a hard practice, the whole feeling is different. And then when you're on a 5-game losing streak and you walk into a building, it's just like a shadow is over you, a cloud is over you. I was at dinner one time. We had lost like 3 or 4 games in a row. I'm in Tampa. It's probably year 1 or year 2. And I'm sitting at this restaurant, this soul food restaurant, and this girl walks up to me and she goes, I'm with one of my friends. She goes, are you guys Bucs players? I'm like, yeah. I'm thinking she's like, oh, let me get an autograph. She's like, why do y'all suck so bad? Like, literally, this girl was like 11 years old. And she's like, why do y'all? And that's like the feeling you have. And so, like, winning masks everything. If you mess up a play after a win, coach can sit there and be like, hey, okay, we'll work on this like this. But you mess up a play after a loss, it's a whole different feeling. So, like, yeah, winning is everything. Winning is everything. I told you the story before, Blake, about working with the Buds. X was there when we went to the Buds training. And what they always say.
Okay. Oh, he was there?
Yeah, he was there.
Pays to be a winner.
Yeah. Pays to be a winner, right? The faster you do this, the faster you get to the next thing, but it pays to be a winner. And so, like, it is a real thing. Like, and it's so crazy to me sometimes that, Justin Fields had a quote some weeks ago because of some fan or somebody said like they felt worse than the players after the loss. And, Justin Fields was like, dude, I worked 365 days for 17 opportunities, right? It used to be 16, 17. I worked my whole year for 17 opportunities. Do you think you feel worse than me as a fan after a loss than I do? It's not possible. You didn't put the time in that I did.
Yep.
You didn't live in the offseason and run and not go to parties and not drink when I want to and not hang out with my girl when I want to and do all these things. And then he got some flack for it and had to apologize. And I didn't think he should apologize because that's real life, bro. Like, imagine if I told you he shouldn't have. Imagine if I told you
how he feels.
Yeah.
You have to apologize for that.
This is how I eat. When I lose, it pains me. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to text you after a loss. I don't want you to tell me good game. I don't care if I play good. It hurts.
It's a results-based league. That's all you're judged off of. Results.
Yes.
And when I talk to fans and people, it's just the way that the world and people see that look at players. They think of you guys as just like pawns or some type of chess piece, or there's just one fit thing. And what I mean by that is you don't understand that, they can just miss this year. I'm like, do you not understand that missing this is a year off of their life that they can't get back, of a year of playing this game? So like you said, missing parties, making personal sacrifices, missing your kids' events and things like that because you're trying to better yourself for your career and to better yourself, to secure a better life for yourself. Whatever your reasons are for making money in this league, that's why you're doing it. And the reason why I love having you guys and hearing these stories and things like that, it's just so refreshing that you players are now getting so involved in media. You can change the perspective of things. You guys can change the way you're not going to change everybody, but you're going to change some that listen and have sense. You get to change the way people view you guys and realize that you guys are human beings. You guys have families. You guys have personal feelings on things and the way things are. And things that people say and perspectives that they have of you do affect you as somewhat. Somewhat you do ignore it. Sometimes, you're going to have to. It's the nature of the beast. But, it's just refreshing to hear that you guys are expressing that you guys are human and you feel these things. You don't feel worse to you guys when you play bad than a fan when you play bad and you lose a game or you gave up the big play. How do you think that guard felt in the Super Bowl with the Bengals that he gave up the sack to Aaron Donald and Jamar Chase is wide open down the sideline? How do you think that guy feels?
Q, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Dude, he probably thought about that for weeks. For weeks, bro. And I tell people there's a reason you see all the coaches and you see divorce happens and you see Tom Brady going through a divorce and it's like he has a perfect life. But divorce happens because you're so committed to everybody. This thing.
Yeah.
We're so it does, but I'm saying like you're so hardwired to be like, I gotta go. I gotta dedicate myself to this because the only way to last this league is literally to dedicate your whole life to this. Which is why when I see guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick and other people who have great family lives and things like that, I'm just like, dude, like you know how to balance things because to be great, to play 10, 15 years, 16 years, Tom Brady's on year 21 now, right? To do that, there's a give and take. And you have to have a family that understands, like, hey, like nobody wants to be second. Yeah, but my life revolves around this. I have to go train. I have to go get treatment. Right? Mm-hmm. X has been married. X has kids. He knows, right? Like,
and we didn't even talk about rehab and an injury. Think about how that takes a toll on you. Andrew Luck shined the light on that.
Exactly. So people,
I was almost in tears watching that press conference.
Yeah, people almost don't realize that. Like, dude, like, you just see me on Sundays, but I still have a family. I still have life, and I'm so committed to this one thing because. Most people don't imagine waking up for your job at 5:30 in the morning. I have to go lift first. Then I got to go to do all my meetings, all my work I have to do, all my, Zoom calls, whatever it is. And then afterwards, go to practice. And then afterwards, go revisit everything that I did that day so I can get better for the next day. It's a crazy, crazy lifestyle. And it's such a small window. And so you see all these things. And like, I love the fact that X is here. I'm so thankful. I love the fact that players are getting more into media, so you can hear, like, dude, like it's not a 1 day a week thing. My first NFL game I ever went to, I went to a Texans game in Texas. They were playing the Raiders. And my big homie was a Raiders fan. And I'm sitting there, we're in the nosebleeds, right? He bought the tickets. I was probably like 15 years old. And he buys the tickets, and we're sitting up there. And I think the Texans are losing the game. And he says something like, "Isn't it crazy?" I think J.J. Watt was playing. And he goes, "Isn't it crazy that these guys work 1 day a week and they're making tens of millions of dollars?" And I really looked at him and I was just like, "You think that they work 1 day a week to make tens of millions of dollars? This is year round. I don't get summer break. I don't get winter break. I have to work. Right. And if I don't work, there's some 21-year-old, 20-year-old hungry, training his ass off to come take my job." And so I'm glad that we're in this position and we have this platform to be able to talk about these things, and it's awesome.
Yeah. No, I have a couple thoughts about it. A little bit more broad. See what a little bit of the old head mindset a little bit. See what you think about it. But I kind of always think of what keeps coming to mind is another one of our Clemisms is our O-line coach in college. What he used to say, perception is reality. Mm-hmm. And I used to think about it and I used to be like, look, man, if it looks like it, then it probably is, right? And so to me, when I always think about opinions, outside opinions and fans and stuff, and kind of just what people say, here's the thing. The NFL makes millions and billions of dollars.
It's business.
For fans to have opinions on their players, and they can. They have the right to them. Now, my whole thing is this, is being a player and stuff. It's like, man, look, this is the life we choose. I've never liked when football always compares itself to military, or when military people come and talk to you and they compare football to military, because I'm like, look, homie, if I give up a sack, my quarterback's going to stand back up. He's not.
Right. He's going home.
If you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're over there in war and your homie gets shot, like, he might not come home.
Right.
So I always used to think, like, why is that comparison like that?
Right.
I didn't like that, because at the end of the day, playing football is something that we choose to do. Like what Caleb said, people don't know what we go through all week and the work that's required of it, but it is our choice, something of our choosing, our job, right, to be there. And I look at it always as kind of like, okay, would I rather be doing something else? Would I rather be doing this? Well, I'd rather be doing this. This is why I'm choosing it.
Right.
But as far as what, on how that kind of stuff goes with that perspective, to me, it's just kind of like, man, we work tirelessly hours just like a lot of other people do. We get paid a lot of money to do it. So we know that it's high stakes, high stress, high anxiety and stuff, but that's positions that we put ourselves in that we choose to be in. Now, some people don't know how to manage those things. And like what Caleb alluded to, what Caleb said, balance. I've been lucky. The reason I'm able to do that kind of stuff and balance that kind of stuff is because I got a dad who is a real one, who humbled me and made sure that I always did. I had a coach like Clem who did. I've been surrounded by good people like that. And so to me, it's always been interesting to me that, the guys who really, really struggle with that, they don't have any balance in their life.
Right.
And the problem is that not only is there a lot of these guys that don't have balance, but when they are subject to the criticism and they are subject to, all the hate and stuff, they either react, they go like they turn into what do you call it? They turn like they get into their shells and they disappear,
right,
or they come out angry.
Right.
And so I've always thought, man, when you can target in these platforms like how we talk about in media, when you can hear different perspectives of different professional athletes and see the human being in them and talk about them, you could be like, man, these are all real life problems that we all have. They're still first world problems that we have.
Yes.
But they're real life problems that we have. And it's like, oh, he's just like me. He's just like me. That person's just like me. And I think that's the perception reality, is that you don't know how many people on Caleb, I'm sure you've come across this too. You meet a regular person somewhere and you talk to them, they find out you play in the pro and they're like, oh man, you're actually, you know what, you're really cool. Hey man, you're a really nice guy for a professional athlete. Or hey, you're
it's like you had to earn the strike for him to say that you were all right.
Right. And in my head, I'm like, and in my head, I was just kind of like, I don't know what you perceive professional athletes as being, but if you just watch the TV, I was like, then that's too bad, because, again, and people always think, again, that And I'll give you the best example of that. Okay, when I went to Dallas, the media loved to talk about Dak and Zeke, right?
Mhm.
Like, Dez had just left. There's always something coming in and out of Dallas, right?
Right.
Well, I get to Dallas. I don't know anything about these guys. I heard stories about Zeke at State. I heard about stuff. I hear about that. I'd run through walls for the both of those guys. Those two dudes are some of the best teammates I've ever had. Family men, love their families, all this kind of stuff. But because they are the running back and the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys,
right,
whatever they say pretty much on the media, whatever they say, whatever they're seeing, the shoe fits. I remember somebody made a big deal about a video of Zeke walking past somebody at training camp, not signing their kid's thing. And he got painted as some guy. Well, what they didn't show is that for an hour before then, Zeke signing all the other kids' stuff before that. That kid just happened to be the time when we didn't have time. And Caleb, you know how that goes, right? They only report what they want to report. And that's the thing is to me, it's look, man, you're never going to impress everybody. You're never going to make everybody happy.
Nope.
So you do with the best that you can. You manage people well. And I just think that perception, knowing all these things and these perception, that's why I appreciate Clem more and more, is that Clem always just said, hey, look, this is what it is, but this is what they're going to say. And what they say is all that matters.
Yeah.
Right? Or, hey, you take care of this really quick by just performing and doing this and that. And so to me, I don't think a lot of people say we're in the entertainment business of football. I don't think we are. I think that it's there to entertain people, but that's not the business that we're in. We're in a results-based league to where we're highly skilled, highly trained performance athletes that perform, and the results is the only thing that matters. And people are entertained by that. And, matter of fact, they're willing to pay millions and hundreds of thousands for that.
Right.
So, as soon as that's understood, I think that's the more, to me, that's a lesson that I've learned to. It's just hey, if it looks bad, then it looks bad. And until it's even personalities in the NFL.
Right.
How many guys are in the NFL, they don't fit that mold, and their personalities, hey, and you've heard about it. Hey, he's kind of a weird guy. He's kind of a different guy, but it's always the but he's an all-pro, but he does his job well. But he's a Pro Bowler. Not conforming to a certain attitude or a certain personality or a certain mindset in the NFL, you only do that if you're special. You know what I'm saying? You can only afford to do that. If not, they'll get rid of you. And that's what I'm trying to say. The people that I respect and the athletes that I respect that are themselves are people who came in and said, I'm going to be myself. But that's with the understanding that as long as I continue to produce results. And that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I think the disconnect sometimes is with fans is that, I don't like how that guy acts. I don't like how that guy says because it's not uniform. It's not what I think. It's not this and that.
Right. You don't fit their square, their bubble.
Exactly. It's nobody gives a damn. You might have been raised in a military household. You might have been raised with parents who didn't care.
You don't know you're growing up.
It doesn't matter. But as long as you win and you handle business, you can be whoever you want. As soon as you're not doing that, though, you better tighten up. And I think that's just kind of that's the kind of problem that, again, that's the disconnect between fans and athletes, and it's not new. It's been happening for a long time. Right. But the problem is that but the thing is now that, like I said, we can get on platforms like this and actually talk about it in that real. And I think that people either love it or they have a hard time with it. And again, there's no way to make everybody happy.
No,
but it's just people just can't fathom it, right?
Right,
they just can't fathom it, and it's just
they can't change the way they want to think. They can't change it
exactly because they're so raised to think one way. And I'm just okay, that's why I like challenging. And it's funny. It's just funny. It's just that we're here talking to Caleb. When we were in college, we used to talk a lot. We go out with the boys, right? Okay, and we had our O-line group. Jake is a very black and white rules guy, logical. You think logically, that doesn't make sense. Don't do it. That's stupid. Okay.
Right.
You had people like Powasi, Powasi was our boy. And Powasi would think one way, but he was quiet. He listened most of the time. He just kind of went with the flow. But every single thing that we talk about, deep conversations, the guys who would go back and forth is me and Caleb because we always play devil's advocate to one another. But that really expanded. No, for me, it really helped me and expand me of being hey, man, there's different ways to think about it. Even if you don't agree, learn true empathy, learn true sympathy, and look at people's point of views. And I think now that we're as athletes and we're able to play devil's advocate for a regular person, I think more people are being challenged to like understand that and be like, hey man, you know, professional athletes have a job to do just like you do at work. And if you don't get your job done, I was like, then you're not going to have that job for very long.
Right.
But I just think, again, you know, there's a certain way there. The problem is that everybody has a certain way that they want to do things. And a lot of coaches too. Caleb's getting into coaching. A lot of coaches, to me, the best coaches, and just like how you said, Caleb, these coaches say, how can I build my offense around this talent? But the coaching for so long was, you need to fit into my system.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do what I need to do because it's proven and I'm right. But then you got guys like Mike McDaniel and all these people, like you said, come in and be like, bro, this kid is nice. How can I take this kid and build around it? And I think that with a lot of the younger coaches and the younger generation and these guys like the Sean McVays, like having success, you know, early and all these guys coming in is because they're doing that. And I think that a lot of the kids that, you know, they accept that more to where it's like, man, use the talent that you have and succeed off that. Don't just try to, you know, do, you know, what you, and I think, and this is, we didn't even talk about college football. I think that's why you see teams like Alabama, who, again, I know they haven't won the Natty. I know Georgia's that but Alabama's still right there.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, Nick Saban's been winning national championships since I was in middle school, bro.
Yeah.
And he still does it. And how does he still do it? Because he surrounds himself with the coaches. He evolves, and he takes these kids and he produces the exact same results now.
Yep.
And it's just like the only way that you, as a coach, last and have success is evolving with the kids around you and using that talent and knowing how to get through to these young G's. And I think that that's amazing, and that's only going to continue helping the game.
Yeah. Dude, rarely am I left speechless because, as Blake knows, and you know, I love when I'm passionate about something. I love to talk.
Yes,
everything you said, I do. When I'm passionate, if I don't care, I won't say anything. When I'm passionate, I'll talk my ass off. Right? You were 100% on everything.
Yes,
I think the Nick Saban point. I think the Nick Saban point was great because Nick Saban, as we all know, growing up, was 4 yards in a cloud of dust, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and play good defense. And he complained about the spread offense, and then he was like, "Oh, everybody's doing the spread offense." He goes, "Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to recruit star quarterbacks instead of just doing defense. I'm going to recruit star quarterbacks because Adrian McCarron. People don't even know who Adrian McCarron is today. He went back.
They know who his wife. They know who his wife is more than him.
Yeah, they know who his wife is, but like he won back-to-back national championships. People don't even know that today, right?
Yeah,
like,
legend.
but he was like, okay. He goes, okay, like this is what y'all gonna do. I'll evolve with it. This is how I think, but I'm in the winning business. Like we talked about earlier, I'm in the performance business. So whatever I got to do to perform, however I got to change to perform, I'll go hire Lane Kiffin, right? I'll go hire
Bill O'Brien.
So sure
I'm
did.
gonna go so we can keep progressing these things, and I'll
Keeping
be in the
business
mix. Yeah, people don't understand how hard it is to win and to be successful at any kind of business. And he's done it for so long. So that was a phenomenal point, bro. And I agree with everything you said. I have nothing to add to that because you knocked it out the park. But I want to talk about Bengals, Ravens. Me and him had our picks. I think I went 5-2 this weekend. Blake, am I wrong? Or 4-2?
Yeah. No, it's 5-2.
That's pretty good.
I was wrong about
That's pretty great. Yeah.
I was wrong about the Bucks because I thought Brady Badger would happen. And then I was wrong about the Vikings because I thought Kirk Cousins would pull it off with Justin Jefferson. So I was wrong about those two. But I did. The Bengals and Ravens played a really, really close game this past weekend without Lamar Jackson. Their running back came out and said, again, we all, as you know, as a teammate, as a professional, there's certain things you say, certain things you don't say, and rarely do guys just give you their honest opinion of things, right? Especially when you're playing, right? Because I would never talk like this when I'm on the Bucks or the whatever. Like I just wouldn't give you this information.
It's just simply a respect. It's a professional respect for your teammates.
Professional respect, exactly. So the running back for the Ravens said that if Lamar Jackson was playing, we would have won this game easily. That was his words. And he says, I'm tired of being, he did say that. And he said, I'm tired of being second fiddle. I am J.K. Dobbins. He's like, I'm the star running back here. I'm the best performer. I should get 30 carries. If Lamar's here, we would win. I'm frustrated. This team is not better than us. We had a lead on them when we played them earlier in the season, and we should be moving on. I'm paraphrasing, but those are his general thoughts. So my question is a two-part question. How do you feel about what he said, right, and the game? And the second part is, as Lamar Jackson, I've asked this question to other guys. Me and you got offensive line brain. You played with plenty of injuries. I played with torn meniscuses, high ankle sprains, everything. You do what you got to do. But in this new NFL, where everybody's a business, where these quarterbacks are making $40, $50 million, Lamar, how do you feel about him? He has an MVP. He has 2 playoff wins. He's been to the playoffs every single year. And he was doubted. People told Lamar Jackson he should be a wide receiver in the NFL.
Running back.
People forget about that. Every running back or a wide receiver, they drafted him at the bottom of the first round. The Ravens had a pick at number 11 or whatever it was, and then traded back in to draft him at like number 30 or number 29, right? So he even doubted his whole. He sees Dak Prescott get a big contract. He sees Kyler Murray with no MVP and no playoff wins get a contract. He sees Deshaun Watson coming off allegations get $230 million guaranteed. And he
straight out the massage parlor.
Straight off the massage parlor. He goes, you all need to pay me and respect me. And then he sees they trade for Roquan Smith, who's a stud, right? He's a stud player. I was his host at UCLA. People don't even know. Roquan Smith is a stud, Georgia kid. They trade for him, then they pay him $100 million. And you're telling me you want to franchise tag me? So how do you feel as Lamar Jackson X, and how do you feel about J.K. Dobbins' comments?
Well, here's the thing. It's not what you said, JK. It's how you said it.
Okay.
And my whole thing is this. It's like how you said, there's that level. I think that when I heard that he was coming from a place of emotion, they just lost a crucial playoff game, right? And had Lamar Jackson played, it would have been a different game.
Absolutely.
However, what I'm going to say too is, and this is, I think, is something that doesn't always get talked about, is that we saw it with the Bills and the Miami Dolphins game, okay? Tua didn't even play. It was a backup.
Yes.
And the Dolphins still almost had a chance to win that game. Mm-hmm. You know, you can say what you want about poor game management, but the fact of the matter is that to play a team in your division for the 3rd time in 1 year, I don't know. I don't care who it is. It's hard to beat. So I knew for the 3rd time with the Bengals playing the Ravens that I personally thought that the Bengals were going to win, especially when Lamar wasn't playing. But I knew it'd be a tight game just because it's a division game. It's a playoff division game. Honestly, I think with the Giants beating the brakes out the Vikings like that, I think the Eagles are worried because they've swept the Giants twice. But to beat the Giants the 3rd time when they're rolling,
right.
Eagles are thinking like, bro, like we got some angry Giants coming in here and they know us. You know what I mean? But you know, I do think Lamar Jackson does make a difference in that game, Caleb. I don't know what the result would have been. It might have been. But I do know that, like, you know, again, Dobbins is passionate. Dobbins just wants to play. Dobbins wants to win. I think that was a little bit of emotion getting to him. But I'm not going to say that he was wrong, you know, because, you know, with what he was saying, you know, it does throw some shade at Huntley because Huntley's out there just trying to do his best. Right. And he couldn't get it done. And so to me, as a teammate, I wouldn't have appreciated that. But I'm also like, for me, outside looking in, not being his teammate, I'm just like, man, Dobbins is frustrated. Dobbins wanted the ball. And I don't know anyone who would have, you know, who didn't, you know, want to win that game on the Ravens because, again, especially against a division team, a divisional rival. And so what was that answer both the part of your questions or what was the other part? Did that answer both part of your questions, Caleb?
Yeah, no, you did. You did for sure. Okay. There's this noise going on in the building right now, so I want to let Blake go.
Okay, go ahead, Blake.
Yep. Yeah, like you said, I think everybody's in agreement with that plan. Those are two games right there that we talked about. The Ravens.
I had the other part of it.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. You go ahead, and then I'll go.
Yeah, but playing an opponent 3 times, especially a division rival, who else knows you better than your own division opponents because you play each other so often. And then trying to win a 3rd time, and then especially not having your star quarterback, regardless of whatever the accolades are, he gives you the best chance of winning. Tyler Huntley coming out, like you said, doing the best that he could. Trying to win a game in the playoffs, trying to move his team on further, not sure what the quarterback position is going to be in the future. And me and Caleb talked about that a bunch of times, especially with the whole contract situation. Now, everybody knows he's bitter about that. And then you've got RG3 chiming in the back, talking about his prior playoff experience with the whole knee.
Which RG3 was right. He made a great point.
100%.
That ended up, did it not end his career?
It changed dramatically.
It did, right? And like, no, sorry, I cut you off, but like,
no,
that's, I think Lamar Jackson is playing it in the long run. If he wants to get his money, he feels disrespected. They couldn't come to terms. Cool. He's doing what's best for his career, because as soon as he goes out there and he doesn't perform and he hurts his knee more, what the Ravens going to say? That's why we didn't pay you. No, man, that's not how it works. He's protecting his own personal enterprise. And I think that was a smart decision for him.
You want to talk about business? That was a business decision.
It was
a business decision.
Bro, like when I tell you, I had this discussion with people, and you have like football's making this transition from the old heads to the young guys, and I was kind of like in the middle of that. So was X, right? So I still have some old head mentality about a lot of things, but I understand the young guys and how they understand the business of football more than a lot of old guys did. Right.
Well, and they learn about what the OGs did wrong, and they're like, I ain't gonna do that. I didn't make that mistake. And most of the OGs that are bitter about it are the ones who messed up, made those mistakes.
Right.
Exactly. At the end of the day, this team will trade you, cut you, do whatever they want with you. I know dudes who got traded and didn't know they were traded until they heard it from ESPN on Twitter. Yeah. Right. And their agent had to text them about it. That's real life. And fans don't get mad about that. People don't get mad when somebody finds out I got traded on Twitter when I woke up in the morning. But if I demand a trade, now I'm the bad guy. Now I'm wrong. So I'm all about these dudes, bro. Get your money, bro. Like, get your money. If I was Lamar, I would feel disrespected. I need my coins. I need everything. Dak Prescott was lucky. And then X played in Dallas. I was in Dallas with X for a short amount of time, right? X played in Dallas. Jerry Jones loves his draft picks. He loves his guys, and he takes care of his guys. Most owners aren't like that.
And they've actually drafted well. The last 5-6 years, they drafted.
Yes, they've been spot on.
Dallas always has talent. Always has talent. Like I can list all their draft picks. How do you draft 3 Hall of Fame offensive linemen in the last 15 years? Like, because they do have that. Frederick, Martin, Tyron Smith. Like, it's nuts. They drafted well. DeMarcus Lawrence, 11 from heaven, to Skip Bayless, I call it Michael Parsons, right? And Diggs,
CD,
they knock it out the park, right? And he takes care of them. But like to be upset at Lamar Jackson and saying, I don't care if he's really injured. I don't care if he's saying, hey, I've done enough. I've had a PCL sprain. I don't know if you have X. I've had an MCL, PCL, meniscus. Thankfully, never had an ACL. It's painful, bro. And nothing makes it better other than doing nothing. But if you want me to go out there, right, Robert Griffin III, like we just talked about, like you guys talking about while this thing was going off, alarm was going off. Robert Griffin III had a minor injury. He's like, I'm putting a knee brace on to go play for my team. Then towards ACL. Then made it worse. And then he was never the same again. And he never got a big contract. He never got a same contract. Right? So why would I risk that? Well, my value was up here because if you remember the first 6 games of the year, Lamar Jackson was balling out of his mind.
Oh, man.
100 yards rushing, 150 yards, 300 yards passing, right? And now you want to tell him, like, hey, we haven't seen enough after your MVP season, after our 2 playoff runs, after you're playing like this. We haven't seen enough to give you a new contract. But hey, if you come back early.
But we don't want you to go anywhere else either. We still want you to
that part.
Anywhere else. We can't let you go anywhere else.
Nah, dog. You gotta stay right here.
Dude, it's crazy. And I listen, like I said, I got O-line brain because I will play through anything. That's just how I'm hotwired, right? But when these young guys are making businesses, and I know you're the same way, right? That's how we were raised. I tore my meniscus in second week of practice my sophomore year, and I put on it the whole year. That's how it's built. But I'm an offensive lineman because you know what? The guy next to me has to trust that I'm going to be there and do what he does and do what I do and all those things. But I'm not mad at these young guys being like, hey, man, take care of me and I'll take care of you, because it can be a career ender. Because I understand the business the way guys before us didn't understand. And that's the reality of it. It's still a business. It's still a business.
I think the mindset. I think the mindset you're talking about. It's like everybody is, even though it's a business, you have that part in you. I'm saying way with you guys. I said you have the love of the game and you want to be there for your brothers. You want to get out there and play, but now you have to think, if I do that, I'm going to lose money. The whole purpose of why I'm risking my body. So now my mindset is got. I would call it old. I know you can't say old brain and old school thinking. I just call it evolving with the times. Right. That's what I'm just calling it. I'm gonna call it evolving with the times, because, like you said, the team, the business will get rid of your ass if you ain't performing in a heartbeat, or underpay you for what you feel you're worth because you're banged up. So why can't you flip the script?
I'll add a point to that though. Okay, a little nuance there. You're both correct, but I'll add even something more.
Okay.
Something I learned the hard way when I was in Houston. Like Caleb said, I was raised with a father who you did not come off the court or the field unless you can't walk type, right? And your whole life,
you hurt.
For your whole life growing up, oh yeah, my pops, he's a noose, so like, and so growing up, it was always stay on the field, right? You don't ever come out. Even in college, right? Clem asked me to slide out whatever on my knee or whatever, like I would do it because I knew I could still get the job done. Fast forward to the NFL. I try to play hurt in Houston. I'm worried because I'm the first. I'm a high draft pick, high expectation, all that kind of stuff. Coach is like, can you play? Can you play tough it out? Yeah, I could play, but can I perform? To me, there's a difference between playing and performing. What I've learned over my long career in the NFL is that you only play through injury if you can still perform and put it on the tape that you are performing, doing your job. If you are just trying to prove how tough you are and you're just throwing it out there, let me be real, keep it real.
Please, bro.
Caleb knows this. I could be your coach. I could tell you, hey, man, I need you. I need you this game, man. I really, really need you. Can you do it? Yeah, coach, I could do it. All right, bet. And be like, I'm proud of you. Hell, we win the game. We might lose the game. We might win the game. And come up to you, hey, man, I appreciate you, tough me through that. But as soon as we go upstairs and watch the film, man, he played terrible. I don't know what's wrong with him. He said he was good to go. Let me tell you, man, that is reality. And when I try to tell people this, there are certain injuries and things, especially as O-linemen, that we can play through, as long as you can still drop, block, and do your job and all that kind of stuff. But as I learned the hard way and how we see guys constantly all the time, you trying to prove how tough you are. Son, you're not going to play. You're not going to be in the NFL if you're not tough. That's been established already.
Right.
Yes.
What is established is that as long as you can still perform at a high level while you're hurt, that's fine. But if you cannot, and it's affecting your money, it's affecting your film, then don't do it. And you got to be brave enough to do it. And I've seen guys who say, hey, I'm not going to do it. I'm not ready. I'm not right. And the coaches be like, all right, cool. Screw you. We'll cut you. Go somewhere else and ball.
Yeah.
Like, because they are healthy. And it's the guys who aren't intimidated or the guys who are confident in their ability to know, look, man, I'm not going to let these coaches get to me in my head. I'm not going to let these people pressure me, because I know as soon as you turn on the tape, I'm like that. Yep. And I've shown that I'm like that. And Lamar Jackson knows his worth. Yeah. And so that's where I'm saying it's the work. You know what I'm saying? He knows his worth, and he's no fool. And so he's got his agent and he's sitting back and they're like, listen, man, you go out there and play hurt. It's just going to add more fuel to the fire of them not wanting to pay you. So what you have put on tape, you deserve to be paid, and we'll get it done, whether it's here or somewhere else. We'll get it done. And I think that was my biggest transition, Caleb, coming out of college and getting that mindset, because, bro, it's not easy to shake. You play through anything. No. You just play. Well, in college and high school, if you can still do your job or do 80% of the job, usually that gets the job done. In the pros, that don't get the job done.
Yeah.
So
I got two quick stories for you. I want to get to our next topic and get to UFC because a lot of big news in UFC. But my rookie year in the NFL, so I leave college early as a junior, right?
Same junior crew, you heard?
Yeah, junior crew. You from 3 and out, right?
So I leave college. That's what Clemmy said. 3 and out.
3 and out, right? So I leave college as a junior. I get drafted. I go to Tampa. The laws and the rules at the time in the NFL was if you haven't graduated, they send you back to school to go finish your graduation and graduate class because they want guys to get their degree, right? And that's how the NFL handle things. The difference is UCLA is on a quarter system, so graduation is in like April or May. While other people, it's in like February if you're on a semester system, right? So I got sent back to California with $300,000 in my pocket and nothing to do. Myself, Kenny Clark, Miles Jack, Thomas Duarte, all these guys, right? And so I had rookie minicamp for 3 days and nothing else. And nothing else up until camp started in July because legally I wasn't allowed to be with the team. I get there and literally my like fifth practice, somebody falls on my leg. I have a grade 3 high ankle sprain, and people don't understand how bad high ankle sprains are. Grade 3 high ankle sprain means I tore ligaments in my leg.
You would have been better off breaking your ankle than getting a grade 3. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. I had a grade 3 high ankle sprain. I was in a cast. I've been in practice 3 days in rookie minicamp and like 5 days in camp. And now I have a cast on as a 5th-round draft pick. I'm thinking I'm going to get cut. Doctor says you have 8 weeks. You're in a cast for 3 weeks, and then you start rehab after that. After the 4th week, it's the last preseason game. And I said, I'm going to play. Give me the drugs, give me the Toradol, I'm going to play. My first practice back, or my second or third practice back, I'm out there, and X will tell you, this is O-line jargon again. I'm out here like, I have to shoot my hands crazy because my feet can't move the way I need them to move, how they usually move, right? And so, like, I'm not going to say I had a bad practice, but it looked weird. But I was like, I'm not going to miss 8 weeks. I won't be on this team. That's my mentality. That's how it's playing through injuries, playing things like that. Yeah. And George Warhol sat me down after practice, after film, and he said, bro, if you can't go, do not put bad film on tape. And that's why I love him so much. And me and him are still friends and talk to this day because he was really, really hard on me, just the way Clem was. He was like, dude, like, if you're injured, he's like, I wanted you out there. And I love the fact that you're a guy who's going to push through pain. But he's like, I don't want you to have bad film. So if your leg is that bad, because I would take 1 step because I couldn't move 2 steps because my ankle's still messed up. And I'll just punch. Yeah, he's like, dude, don't go in there. He's like, don't go. He's like, I don't want you to have bad film. But like, that's just what's been ingrained in my head to go do. Like, I told you the story last week, I think. Like, I've seen guys tear their ACL in practice, and what do? We move up 10, 15 yards.
Move up the drill.
And we keep playing. And we talk about it with DeMar Hamlin. Like, that's how we're trained, bro. Like, get over it. Get over it. We keep going. Next man up. That's what everybody talks about.
Well, and I'll add that Coach Warhol, that he didn't have to do that, right? Because most O-line coaches would not do that or say that. But the fact that he cared about Caleb and he had a relationship with him to do and that's rare, right? And that's, bro, that's so important that he learned that lesson early because, again, the only thing they can use against you, bro, is your film.
Yep.
Like if you're if you're a professional, you wake up, you're on time, you do your meetings, all that kind of stuff. That's the bare minimum of what you got to do. What people don't realize is that doesn't mean anything. That's what you're supposed to do, like playing and expecting to be a pro. But the fact that he did that was a coach who was looking out because I promise you, a lot of coaches won't. A lot of coaches will look you, smile in your face, and be like, "Hey, you're doing great, guy. You're doing great. You're cut. See ya."
Cut, exactly.
And it's just like y'all. And it's just like y'all full of shit. And you know what's crazy is I had a college coach. We had a college coach that told you that real. He said he'll put your ass on waivers, homie. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I didn't even know what waivers were. And Craig told me, you know what I mean? And I was like, damn.
I'll tell one story. I'm not sure if you were there at that time, X, but there was a day our college coach. We walked in. We had a really bad practice, right, as an offensive line. And we walked into our meeting room. And when we walked in, Rivals was like the big high school recruiting thing at the time.
Yeah.
So he's
It was
scrolling
Rivals
through
and what was the other one? Rivals and
24/7.
Scout. Rivals and Scout.com, right?
Yeah. So 24/7scout.com. Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yep.
And he's scrolling through all the 5-star, 4-star offensive linemen, and he lines us up. And again, all these things are happening. I'm 18, 19 years old. I got drafted when I was 20 years old. I was a kid, right? So I'm even younger now. And he's rolling through all these things, and he goes, I'm trying to replace everybody in here because y'all played like shit today. And he was bare honest. And then he lined us up. At the time, I was a starting right tackle, right? So he lines us up, and the guy behind me was like a redshirt junior. He goes, "You're never gonna play here again." He goes, "Caleb's a freshman. What are you gonna do with your life?" He goes to the next guy. He goes, "You're a freshman. You're behind 2 guys. Caleb's gonna be here for at least 3 years, so you're not playing for 3 years." And he goes down the line.
Better get your degree.
And he's going down the line just like that. And he goes, and guess what? I'm trying to replace Caleb. He's been starting for me. I was a freshman All-American. He was like, I'm trying to replace him with somebody better. And all these things happen. And at the time, I was mad at him. And I was like, dude, why are you acting like this? But when I realized that's how real life is, sports imitates life. People are trying to replace you. People are trying to take your job. Like, how do you react, right? Like, how do you, when pressure comes, when there's 80,000 people in the stands and I can't hear my brother next to me talking, and then when there's millions of people watching on Monday night, right? Like, how do you perform under those extenuating circumstances? How do you get the job done, right? And he was teaching us all these things, and dude, it was so crazy. Like, it was so crazy. And like, I love what X said about, like, dude, all they have is your film. One thing Clem always used to say, the eye in the sky don't lie.
Yep.
The eye in the sky does not lie, because they evaluate everything. And I tell that to all my guys that I train currently. And when I get to Oregon, I'm going to tell those guys, dude, the eye in the sky does not lie, bro. They evaluate everything. Walkthroughs, practice. If you're on scout team, you can be on. I went from my rookie year being on scout team right tackle to starting at left guard against Akeem Hicks in his prime in a week. In 1 week. So literally in like 4 days, he's like, hey, dude, you're all we got left. You got to play left guard. I ain't gotten a left-hand stance in like 7 years. I got in the wrong stance my first time. But guess what? You got to perform. I played like shit that game. And you know what happened after I played like shit that game? Dirk Cutter, who I love too, he got up on that stand and he said, Caleb is so talented. I thought he would play better. I expected more for him, but he didn't play very well this game. We won the game. But that was and it was in the paper. I had the clippings in storage. It was in the paper. But that let me know, like, dude, you're playing real life right now. Everybody's job is on. It's real. People are feeding their families. I'm not going to take the fall for you at all. At all. I'm going to call it how it is. I thought you would play better. What did I do? I got my playbook. I studied more. I learned more. I was 295 pounds. Akeem Hicks was 350 pounds. Okay, I got to go lift more. I got to get extra lifting.
Slim 350.
Slim 350 with abs, right? I got to go lift more. I got to go squat more. I got to go eat more. This is real life now. This is serious. And so, like, I think I'm glad that you give us this platform to be able to talk about these things so people don't know how really difficult it is. People see the money that we make, right? Which, again, after taxes, after you have families and do all these things, we all take care of our families, right? You got your wife, your kids, you ex. I got my mom, my sister, my brother, all these people. Like, it's really not what you think it is, right? Unless you're Tom Brady and one of these guys who's making tens of 20s of millions of dollars a year, right? Colton. Like, this is Colton, exactly, right? This is real life, and you really got to come in here and grind and work 365. And so I love that we're able to talk about these things. But X, I don't know how much you know about UFC. I started doing the radio show in January out of Tampa, and I used to just go in there and just kind of just freelance and talk because I know sports, right? I watch sports, I can freelance, but like the more I got into it, the more I got media, trained, right? I started being like, okay, you know what? I want talking points, and I have my main points because that's what everybody's gonna talk about, and then I have like how I gather myself. So I used to do this thing where it's like, oh, wait, what were we talking about? Oh, wait, what was I just saying? So again, we all got CTE, right? It is what it is. But like I started making those bullet points and I send them to him now, so he knows kind of where I'm at. So if I forget something, he can bring me back. I can bring him back. And so yeah, dude, like I hope we can do this again. This was a great conversation. I had a great time. Thank you guys.
Same.
Yeah, looking forward to doing this again, fellas, and we'll just wrap it up. I'm Blake Anthony. This is Sports Talk 49. I'm the Average Joe, and these are your pros. Mr. X-Man Xavier, Mr. Caleb Benenoch. Gentlemen, have a great day, and look forward to seeing you again.
You too, man. Appreciate you guys.
Yep.
All right, fellas.